Oh, guys, good, you're here. I am so excited. Guess what?
I hope this isn't about your podcast again.
Why, did you finally listen to it?
I came in like a wrecking ball.
The Groomer Next Door is recorded in front of a live studio audience. Welcome to the Groomer Next Door. You're listening to my mommy and daddy.
And now our feature presentation.
And here's your host, my mommy and daddy, Chris and Stella Green.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 80 of the Groomer Next Door. I'm your host, Chris Green, and unfortunately, not sitting next to me this week is Sarah. Sadly enough, Sarah has been down with the flu as well, like I was. We pretty much have kind of done the seesaw effect when it comes to this cold. Has not been fun. As you remember, last week I was pretty badly sick. Now this week she's pretty badly sick. So it has just been pretty much up and down for both of us. It's just what you get. So I will be flying solo here today on the show, but it won't really be any different than it normally is. So let's dive into the weekly roundup.
The weekly roundup, yeehaw.
Alright, so on this weekly roundup, it has been another busy day over at the Shadowwood Pet Resort, as always. This week we were able to finally get the green light that I am going to Grooming Academy. So this will be my last week here at Shadowwood, which will be sad, but on the other side, you know, I'm coming back, so it's not like, oh no, I'm never coming back. Very rare in life do you actually have the opportunity to say, well, I'm leaving my job just to come back to it in 3 months. I imagine that some people have had that effect in life. I haven't. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that all works out. I will be doing one more podcast here with Sarah, and then next, after that, we're going to actually try this distance thing where we try to do the show from me out there and her over here, and we'll see how that all works out. It might just be really weird for a while, but we'll learn. We'll learn and we'll figure it out. Let's see, going on to this week. Oh boy. We actually had our Newfoundland come in on Friday. That was challenging, to say the least. We actually filmed the Newfoundland for episode 10 of our video podcast. It's going to take a little bit of time to get the audio recorded. It's going to be an hour-and-a-half video, so weird as it might be, you guys actually all enjoy the longer video podcast opposed to the shorter ones. That's always interesting to me. Love to know why the longer ones are your favorites, so send us a message. I'm always kind of curious. We've been getting a little bit more messages, comments on our YouTube channel, some on our actual Facebook page, and it's really been appreciative. I love hearing what you guys have to say. You know, you sit down in front of a microphone each week, you try to put together a really good show that everybody can enjoy and kind of get behind, and then when you actually hear from you guys, it's really cool. So please keep commenting. Tell us what we're doing. It's only way I can actually make this podcast better is by hearing what you guys think. So leave us a comment on iTunes or in YouTube. Let us know, because that's the only way I can make it better. I have been pretty much creating this podcast with no actual net underneath me. If you listen to the early stuff, it was pretty raw. But we've kind of learned how to make a podcast since then. So, yeah, that's kind of fun. So like I had said, the Newfoundland had come in. We had mentioned last week that the owner had passed away. It was a sudden pass away, too. She had a medical condition and passed away, and it was really sad to see the dog come in, the dog was experiencing severe depression. And, you know, it was really hard because, you know, Sarah, of course, has worked with this dog for years. I've only had her for the last year and a half, and she's a lot of work. And normally she's got a personality of her own. She's a sweet, jolly type dog, only about 4 years old. So it's not like, oh, well, she's, you know, 6, 7 years old. No, she's 4. I mean, she's got 28 years dog life, and for that type of dog, it's a little bit more. But, you know, she was really just depressed, had her head down the whole time. She misses her mom and, you know, her human mom. And it was a rough one. So that had posed to be a real challenge. We did get the title. If you actually heard my rant last week, we ended up getting our title for our car, so we were able to process our loan and get everything worked out. Like I mentioned, I'm going to be leaving. So that actually finally happened. So I don't have a rant this week, which is kind of nice. Just kind of pretty much packing my bags. It's kind of weird to know that I'm actually leaving again. For those of you who don't know, 2 years ago I actually left. Not that I like leaving my family behind. It's the hardest thing that I do. But I left to move 8,000 miles away because of a job. A job pretty much sent me over there to another country. And it was weird. That's the best way of putting it. It was weird. So I've actually done this before. So this is the second time around for me. And, you know, you're going to be on the journey with me. I will definitely record each day. You know, hopefully get the support from you guys, because I can definitely use all the support I can get when it comes to this. This is a rough one. It's always challenging to move away, to only see your family on a video monitor. So, you know, luckily I'm only 100 miles away this time. It's the 8,000, and that's a lot nicer in my mentality. So we'll see how that goes. Other than that, I'm trying to think if there was anything that really stuck up for me besides seeing the Newf. It was just crazy all week. I can't say any more about it. If you're actually, I know we have a few of you who are actually learning to be groomers who listen to the show. You'll learn that one thing about this business is you're either one of the people that people come to all the time, or you're trying to get business any way you possibly can. There's really no way around it. You want to be busy, and it's a privilege to actually have the support of all the customers around and the word of mouth. So if you are looking to start grooming soon and you are in school, that's your big base. Learn how to have your integrity. Learn to have the ability to put out good dogs each time. Every dog should be the very first dog that you actually groom of the week, even if it is Friday and it's the last dog of the week. And that's hard to say because, trust me, I know how hard this job can be. So, that's pretty much the weekly roundup. Like I said, I can't really remember a lot of dogs. Well, we're going to move on to our next topic, and that is Ain't Nobody Got Time for That Moment of the Week.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that.
All right. This week on Ain't Nobody Got Time for That Moment of the Week, it comes from Petco. A big box pet store that has a grooming department. Not really too up to date on their rules and regulations. Never worked in a big box store before. I've worked corporate before, but not in animal accessory, animal care. So unfortunately I don't have that kind of knowledge, and my co-host isn't here right now, unfortunately, so I can't really give you first-hand experience. But I've been doing this for long enough that I can actually piece little pieces together for you guys. So I'm going to play you the clip, and then I'm going to discuss.
Working for you. CBS 6 News at 6:30 starts now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tracy Sears. Human error at a Petco groomer is being blamed for the tragic death of a young golden retriever. That accident happened Friday at the Westchester location in Chesterfield County. Our Joe St. George spoke with the dog owner's family and joins us live with that story. Hi, Joe.
Hey, good evening, Tracy. We just finished speaking with the owner of this golden retriever. Colby was the dog's name. As you could imagine, the family is absolutely heartbroken this evening. Colby, as you see in these pictures, was a 2-year-old golden retriever. The family just wanted to drop the dog off at Petco so it could get grooming, something that it's done on occasion at the facility at the Westchester Commons Petco. The owner then went to work after a couple hours from not hearing from the animal store. They decided to call back the company. That's when store management told Colby's owners that they needed to get to the nearby animal hospital. When they arrived at the animal hospital, veterinarians told Colby's owners that the dog was dead. Now, a lot of questions are still swirling in this case, as you might imagine. Apparently, this happened as a result of heat stroke, or at least that's what the veterinarian told the golden retriever's owners on Friday. Heat stroke because it was left in one of the drying cages. Apparently, when you get your dog groomed at this Petco locations, it's washed and then it's placed in a drying cage. That cage, warmer, as you might suspect, and it was that warm cage that was fatal on Friday, killing this golden retriever. We have learned within the last hour or so that Chesterfield Animal Control will be investigating this. It's unclear if any charges will be pressed, but we have received a statement from Petco on this Sunday. I will read it to you now in full. All of us at Petco are heartbroken by Colby's passing. The health and safety of pets is always our top priority, and we take full responsibility for all animals under our care. The officials go on to say we are taking immediate action to investigate and understand the situation. Our thoughts are with Colby's family at this difficult time. Again, difficult time, an understatement. As Tracy mentioned, I just finished speaking with the owner's family. You will hear from them tonight on your news at 11. I can tell you that this dog was purchased 2 years ago because the owner had lost her husband. This was an animal that was meant to be comforting, and today and throughout this weekend it has been an animal that has brought a lot of sadness, still a lot of unanswered questions, including whether or not that Petco employee responsible for this will be terminated. But for now, working for you in Powhatan, I'm Joe St. George. Tracy, I'll see you at 11.
Virginia woman heartbroken after her beloved golden retriever died while in the care of Petco groomers. The store says the dog was accidentally left in a drying cage too long. The store says a groomer forgot about the dog because she was busy.
This story is so awful. We were just talking about this during the break because we both have pets and we love them. Well, now the dog's owner is pressing charges and wants to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Friday was probably the worst day since my husband passed.
Allison Marks is heartbroken. Her 2-year-old golden retriever named Colby is dead. Her house silent.
It's empty. The house is empty.
Colby died Friday during what was supposed to be a routine grooming at the Petco near her home.
He's been going there since he was a puppy.
According to Allison, when she called to ask where her dog was, she was told to go to a nearby animal hospital. There, Allison says the store's assistant manager told her Colby was accidentally left in the heated drying cage too long.
This is her exact words. Your groomer had to leave to go because she had a graduation to go to. You could clearly see he was dead.
A veterinarian telling her it was likely heat stroke and that an hour after Colby's death, his temperature was still more than 105 degrees.
You can't replace a dog like that. He was the most lovable dog ever. It sickens me that they can just let something like this happen. How could he not suffer? He was in a cage for God knows how long.
The store released a statement saying, all of us at Petco are heartbroken by Colby's passing. The health and safety of pets is always our top priority, and we take full responsibility for all animals under our care. Customers there were shocked to hear what happened.
Would you bring your dog here again?
I don't think so, because I love him like a child, and if anything happened to him, I would be really sad.
As for Allison, she says she wants to press charges, but mostly she hopes her story prevents something like this from ever happening again.
He was my shadow. I mean, he followed me everywhere. He was my next soulmate.
Such an awful story there. Animal Control is investigating Colby's death.
So you probably are all going to ask yourself, what went wrong? And I'm asking myself, what went wrong? There's many things that seem to have actually failed in this certain situation. For one, this is where we've said it before. I would say half of our show content has said this. Heated dryers are a recipe for disaster. I'm not a fan of it. I've never used one, but I'm still not a fan of it. Of course, there's a lot of different parts to this. It's corporate. It's a corporate type job, so that means you become a minion. You just are a pawn. You're accessible, and you have a shelf life like any other corporate job, unless you're, way up the branch. In these circumstances, you're just a simple employee, a number that can be terminated at any point in time. Pretty much a CYA for these corporations. Not a big fan of them. I'm not a big fan of the operations, and it's just from observation. I've been able to see it through watching, Sarah go through different things. Didn't like what I saw, and I thought to myself, there's no way I'd want to be part of that, for the simple fact that it's to the point of ignorance, and there's always some bliss to ignorance, but not in these circumstances. For example, these heated dryers, they should have a timer on them. I don't understand why the timer wasn't set, or if it was set, what happened. This groomer was probably off the clock, or had put in for her schedule to actually let her, get off at a certain time because of this graduation that she had to attend. And that responsibility to the dog that was in the kennel fell into somebody else's lap, while that person probably had a dozen dogs to do themselves and didn't have time to check on the dog. So you've got a bunch of variables that were a recipe for disaster. Obviously, this person brought their dog in to have their dog groomed. And from what it looks like, in just an observation, it was what's considered a bath, brush, and nails. And I'm kind of guesstimating that this was probably the last dog that they did of the day. And what they did is they washed the dog, they lightly dried it without a complete dry. And again, these are all observations. I don't have the facts in front of me, but it's just observation from doing this type of work. She probably did the trim the nails, maybe clean the ears, probably didn't really brush out the dog, maybe a light brush, but very little, probably. Put it in the heated dryer, closed it up, told somebody, hey, watch my dog, I got to go to a graduation, was out the door. They put the dog in the dryer just because they didn't do a complete dry on the dog to start with, which, again, you're only as good as your integrity. And unfortunately, when you have the X amount of dogs and who knows what she had, it was probably something of a stupid nature. So she probably was rushing through as quickly as she could, put the responsibility on somebody else, bolted out the door, and unfortunately, case in point, disaster happened. Now, there's no excuse for this. Yes, the groomer needs to be terminated. This is where ignorance and not giving a hoot about your job really plays into it. And it makes me mad because I see this on a constant basis where people just don't think. You have the opportunity to work with a wonderful animal. And I love being able to work with the dogs. I don't care if it's the first dog of the week or the last dog of the week. I enjoy every one of them. And when you start to only see it as a dollar sign and you're rushing to get in and out, you're not going to put quality out there. And that's what's going on here. You're overbooking these groomers, or they're not getting any dogs at all, and they're being forced to do other things in the store, not get paid for it, which that's a topic I'll talk about in a second. But these guys don't have integrity. They don't have quality control. And that's frustrating me. I remember hearing the story that if you didn't have a dog to groom, you were told to go out on the floor and actually either stock the shelves, face the product, or try to commission people to come in for nail trims or whatnot. Okay, for one, you're the groomer, you're getting paid a commission, you shouldn't be out there stocking shelves or facing the product or working the product. That's a separate entity to the store. So that always bugged me. You're not getting an extra paycheck. They figure, well, we're already paying you, so we're going to expect this of you anyway. To me, that's demanding more from a skilled labor than what you are for somebody who has absolutely no skill, who that's the only job that they should be doing. So that's a frustration I have right there on any box company. But then it's like, okay, I can see where you want to actually drum up business. Hi, I hear your dog's toenails are long. Would you like to come in for a nail trim and discount that? Bring them in. Okay, I can understand to some degree because it's still money in their pocket, but it drives me still insane. You're making so much money hand over fist on all of these groomers and the bathers that are working, or all these people that are working in these grooming salons that actually have the skill, and you're demanding so much out of them. Well, of course, what do you think is going to happen when they're just like, I'm just here just to make my paycheck and go? They don't care. And unfortunately, that's what just happened, is you have somebody who doesn't care about what they're doing. They lost that desire. And of course, it's a corporation. Easiest way of getting rid of a problem is not taking responsibility for their bad behaviors that they're expecting their employees to do. No, the easiest way out of it is just to say, oh, we terminated the person because they don't care about their job. Well, what do you think they're going to do? You think they're really going to care about going to work every day when you're not going to treat them right? You're probably treating other people who have absolutely no skill whatsoever, who are cleaning a bathroom, which there's nothing wrong with that, but you're treating them better than you're treating the people who are bringing in the money for your store. You're treating everybody in a lump sum like garbage, and nobody cares about their job. That's just ridiculous. And then you have people get to the point where they don't care about their job, and then there's a fatality. Think about it. It's just unnerving to me. I get frustrated when I see this stuff. I definitely get even more frustrated when I hear that there's a death. This is where you got to look at the big picture. I look at the actual corporation and say, well, I wonder, what could you have done to prevent this? It's not entirely the groomer. Yeah, they made the mistake. So the death is on them, and they should never pick up a pair of shears again. They should never work with animals again. But what brought them there? What bred that mentality? And how many more are being bred to do the same thing? That's why I would never take my dog to a big box store. I'd always go to some regular independent shop that I knew cared about my business. I knew they cared about my dog. And if you take your cat, I would want to know that they take care of my cat. That's where I draw my line. You know, I've walked into different big box stores, different companies, and then they have the grooming, they have daycare, they have a vet, they have all these things. But do they really care about any one of them, or is it just there to make money? And yeah, I understand everything in this world is to make money. I understand that much, but to the point of, is this just to take my money? Are you really giving a hoot about my dog or my cat? Or is this just to take my money and throw my dog or cat in a kennel and I'll come back and pick him up whenever I'm ready? Or am I going to take it someplace that actually cares? That's what really needs to be taken out of all this. Now, if you do take your dogs to any of these big box stores and you feel like this is where I want to go, I like my groomer, then that's fine. That is completely acceptable. You might actually have a good groomer. You know, there are groomers out there who are part of these big box stores that are actually great. I know of one that is really good, and it's a male. And I look at him, he's Sarah's inspiration. I didn't work with him, but I look and go, I'm a male that is in grooming. I would like to have that kind of stamina, that kind of demeanor, that kind of output of quality. He's good. He's really good. And that's the kind of person I want to be. And he's in a big box store. So it's not saying that big box stores don't have good groomers. No, there are a lot of them. Unfortunately, there's a lot of bad ones. So, if you have a good groomer and they're in a big box store, hold on to them. If they leave to another store or an independent shop, follow them. Because honestly, it's a hard road to actually go down to find a new one. We all think, oh, I go to wherever to get my hair cut. And I only go to one person. And that one person's the only person I'll let touch my hair. The same thing applies to your dog. So these are the things that, just think about them. I mean, you obviously probably do because you're listening to the podcast. But these are little things that I don't know if a lot of people think about. And again, there really isn't a podcast like this out there. So we might be the only ones that are saying it. And that's fine. That's what podcasts are for. So I think we're going to actually move on to news, or, well, the GND newsroom. Welcome to the GND newsroom, where it is a Kardashian-free news report. No Kardashian of any time, of any place, of any circumstances. That has to be worth the price of admission. Alright, this week we are actually going to touch on two topics. Obviously, the first topic is, and I know a lot of you guys have seen it all over Facebook and all over the place, but I have a beginning, middle, and an end to the sad situation with the dog that had its muzzle taped shut. We didn't cover it last week because there wasn't an arrest, there wasn't a conclusion, there wasn't anything. We wanted to, but there's not much you can really cover besides the little bits. And I like to actually be thorough in the reports so that I can give you guys a full report. If you haven't even heard about it, or you've heard some things about it, you will actually be able to hear the entire circumstance from beginning to end with this news report. And it actually is 3 different reports I had to put together to make this one report. And another story that actually comes out of the NFL, which, I used to love football. I've actually grown to not like football just because it breeds a certain type of athlete that really bothers me, and that is an athlete that doesn't care. I think we've talked about those athletes in the past where, you get to be a pro athlete, you get paid millions of dollars, you have a spotlight on you, you pretty much walk on water, but you treat everyone and everything around you as if it's inferior. And that's part of the reasons why, we've heard of the dog abusers, we've heard of the children abusers, we've heard of the spousal abusers, and it's a constant revolving door with football, and that's part of the problem I have. We've reached out to Ben Roethlisberger. Unfortunately, we've yet to hear anything back. He actually has a charity for canines, police canines, and we've reached out to him asking him to be on the show, and hopefully one day he'll be. It's just one of those hard roads to go down when you actually try to contact a A-list celebrity. I told you guys we've also talked to Katherine Heigl. That doesn't seem to go out so well. But, I still always have my hope that we'll have them on our podcast here at some point. So to topic on our NFL story, I am going to play that clip for you, discuss it for a moment, and we'll move on.
The Atlanta Falcons cut linebacker Prince Jembo after he was arrested on felony animal cruelty charges.
Yeah, we've got Coy Wire here with some of these really difficult to listen to details. What happened here?
Well, he was arrested because he allegedly killed his girlfriend's dog, and they were talking about a small dog. It was a Yorkie. He told police that he kicked the dog when it bit his hand, but because of discrepancies with what Jembo told the police and the animal autopsy results, they got an arrest warrant. The results showed that the dog died of blunt force trauma,
fractured ribs, fractured liver, abdominal hemorrhage, and this is just half of the list. I talked to a high-ranking team official last night, and he said that the Falcons got a phone call yesterday as Shembo was going out onto the practice field saying that he'd probably be arrested within the next 24 to 48 hours. So they looked into this and rounded up all the high-level execs, the owner, the president, the GM, of course the head coach, and they made a swift decision. They cut him before, guys, he was even arrested.
Wow.
Yeah, there's some questions about the credibility of that story. If the dog's biting your hand, how do you then get to kick it?
To kick it.
But Shembo has a bit of a checkered past.
He does, yeah. So back in Notre Dame, during his freshman year, there was a 19-year-old girl who accused him of sexual battery. He was never charged, but 10 days after the girl reported it, she committed suicide.
So, frustrating in itself. I don't even think there's an answer to why this guy would actually do such a thing. I mean, obviously, if you're going to actually kick a dog and do that kind of extent of damage, then we all know that that's just really the plate that the actual cake is going to go to. At some point, if he doesn't change his ways, we all know that he will beat his girlfriend or wife in an elevator and drag her out of there, just like another football player did. So you're at least we're seeing a pattern with this guy. Never heard of him. But then again, like I said, I haven't been really watching football for the last few years. Of course, I watch ESPN and all kinds of sports centers. So I see highlights, but I've never heard of this cat, and I hope I never hear of him again. Sad, but, you don't really win my respect for being an animal abuser, a child abuser, a person who abuses elderly, or a person who abuses women. You will not actually make it onto my friends list when you're any of those people. You pretty much will be on my crap list. And, I don't care if you're a football player. I don't care if you're a multimillionaire. I don't care if you're a celebrity. If you're any of these things, you don't mean diddly to me, and you can pretty much kick rocks. You're pretty much just garbage. I don't like people like this. I hope he never plays professional football again. Unfortunately, in that sport, it seems to be one of those forgiveness, move on type of situations, and until he does it again, and then there'll be what they'll consider a second chance, and then a third chance. It just becomes it's a pandemic. Let's be realistic. I really could say I love to watch football if the integrity would be there, if these players would actually have media training. I know in hockey, when you become a hockey player, you go through what's called media training. They teach you how to actually handle the media, because these guys, they're growing children. No joke about it. They don't know how to pay bills. They don't know how to do anything for themselves. Anybody who comes who starts playing professional hockey end up being told to buy a dog so that they can care for it. And you never hear about these stories with pro hockey players, which is kind of bizarre. You never really hear about this in any other sport except for football. I don't understand why. You can make all kinds of claims, and I don't want to hear, I grew up in a crap neighborhood, bad situation, I don't want to hear any of this stuff. We're all equal. We all can have bad situations in life. We all can have our own trials and tribulations, but you know what? You don't go around abusing animals. Plain and simple. Goodness, who knows how long he's been doing things like this. It could have gone on forever. Who knows? So for that, you know what? You're just crap to me. Alright. Our next story in the GND news is, of course, the sad story about the real jerk who actually taped up the muzzle to the dog that he had bought for the simple fact that he just didn't want it to bark. He wanted to shut up. So, I'm going to play the clip for you. It's a beginning, middle, and end, and then we'll discuss.
You can see the pain and suffering in Katie's eyes. Hands of love comfort the dog whose mouth was taped shut for 3 days with this electrical tape.
The small circle, so that's how big Katie's snout was when she originally was taped up. And the big circle is what her snout measures now.
While her muzzle was taped shut, Katie couldn't eat, drink, or pant. You can still see the tape marks over her swollen mouth.
Like I said, her tongue was stuck between her teeth. Part of the tissue has died off, so she's going to have specialty surgery to probably amputate part of her tongue.
In the meantime, the vet's office is doing what it can to keep Katie comfortable.
She's on IV fluids right now to keep her hydrated. Because of how damaged her mouth is and the injuries, she's has no interest in drinking water. So this is really the only way that we can provide her with the hydration that she needs.
Roman is the anti-cruelty investigator with the nonprofit. He's leading the investigation.
The punishment would be 5 years in jail and a $5,000 punishment.
The Charleston Animal Society is offering a $1,000 reward for information leading to the person who hurt 15-month-old Katie.
Police make an arrest in Caitlin's abuse case. William Dodson is behind bars this morning, charged with animal cruelty. He's expected to appear in bond court sometime today. Caitlin was found wandering in the Chicora Cherokee neighborhood in North Charleston last week. Her story went viral with $6,000 offered for information leading to an arrest. Caitlin is continuing to recover. She is now eating normal food and receiving hyperbaric treatments to help heal damaged tissue in her mouth. To read more about the case, head to our website, counton2.com.
Up and walking, a far cry from the dog brought to emergency caretakers losing blood by the minute.
From the photographs, you can see that this was a lot of pressure. This tape was applied very, very tight. So that's going to blanch out all the blood supply almost immediately. And so this kind of tissue death is going to happen, within hours, really.
Dr. Henry Bianucci is the surgeon in charge of Caitlin's care. He says Caitlin is responding so well to both laser and hyperbaric oxygen treatments, she's ready for surgery.
It's kind of a combination of a plastic cosmetic surgery to reconnect her lip margin and close the remaining part of the wound on her face. At the same time, we'll remove whatever on the tongue is clearly dead, which I think is going to probably comprise roughly a fourth of the tongue.
As Caitlin prepares for surgery, animal activists say they're hopeful the man police arrested for taping her muzzle will still be in jail.
I think it should be more. This was just a cruel act. And the pain and suffering that Caitlin had to go through, I don't think $50,000 really matches that pain and suffering.
Aldwin Roman, director of anti-cruelty and outreach with the Charleston Animal Society, says the low bond is another reason why South Carolina needs stiff animal cruelty laws.
She's healing, but the damage is done. That's never going to be able to come back from that.
The judge also set a no-animal order against William Dodson, requiring surrender of any animals at his house. According to the police report, Dodson bragged about taping the dog's mouth shut to her previous owner. Police say the woman recently sold the dog to Dodson for $20. According to court documents, the woman told police Dodson laughed when he told her what he had done.
Well, where do I start? I guess this whole podcast is, I said I wasn't going to have any rant to do, but here I do. I have it against Petco and what they've done, the groomer who ended up doing what she did, the football player, and now this guy. This is where I wish I would have been locked in the same cell with the guy with some electrical tape, because honestly, the $50,000 bond and to surrender your pets, that's the outcome. Makes you really have to say, this is where I keep saying this. I keep pleading for this. I'm always hoping that somebody's going to listen to this podcast that actually want to work together to start this system like the sexual abusers. We need to have an animal abuser network that goes up, that if you actually are labeled an animal abuser, you have to register. And that registry actually goes out just like the sexual abusers, those deviants. I don't think that they're any different. I think that they're all a breed of their own. We need to ship them off to an island where we never have to deal with these POSs again. And that would be happy for me. This guy, it's weird. They say he purchased the dog for $20, but there's other reports saying it was $10. So I don't know which one is actually accurate. But I do know the accuracy is one thing, is that he actually found it to be funny. He had no remorse. And this is where you lose it with people like this. You want to be able to just put the electrical tape around his mouth, tape his mouth as tight as you can, so that he can endure the same punishment. Obviously, we're all civilized human beings, so none of us will go out there and do it. Unfortunately, that's the sad part in life, is that he will pretty much get away with this, and nobody will bat an eye to him. I just look at him and, in disgust, just hope that some dog mauls his face off. Something like that will happen to him, and then it would be actual kind of justice in its own way. It's appalling to see how people's behaviors are, how they think that what they're doing is actually acceptable, or even tolerable. I just don't understand. I don't know what marble fell out of the bag and he became the person he is. I'm pretty sure he's always been this person, just like our football player we were discussing. There's always been something that's been off. These people, unfortunately, there's no laws that really protect the animals. I do believe in the next 5 years we're going to see these laws become more enforced, created, written into law. I saw this week somebody trying to pass out a petition through Facebook saying sign a petition to have the president create animal laws. And I just kind of laughed. For one, why don't we start with our actual local officials, our state officials? Let's start there. Let's not go all the way to a place that we know nothing's going to get done. Let's go to our state, to our representatives. Let's start with them. Let's see if we can start legislating in each state. If we build within states, we can actually build within the country. And then other countries can follow us. Or we can collaborate. I don't believe that there's such a thing as a superior Democrat, nor is there a superior Republican. I think everything in this world needs to be bipartisan. I don't care if you're black, white. I don't care if you're male or female. I don't care if you're gay or straight. And I don't care about any of the stupid things that are out there that people are arguing about to this day. All I care about is to work together. And that seems to be the biggest problem we have right now, not just in America, but in the entire world. That's the problem. Nobody's working together. We need to start, when it comes to legislation, to write these laws in our states. Then we can build from there. I know that in our country, we don't have the severity of problems that other countries have. But we have our own problems that we should be working on instead of going, well, at least it's not XYZ. No, that's not the way I'm looking at it. It can always get to be that bad. Animal abusers in other places weren't always this bad. There was no law. Because there was no law, it got worse. Until it spun out of control. Same things apply in here. If we don't take control and start don't walk up to your state building, threaten that you're going to do whatever. Work with them. Try to get in contact with your local officials. Work with them. See how you can petition it. There's a way of doing this stuff. You don't have to, resort to threats. That's stupid. What you have to do is you have to try to come up with a way of being intelligent. Luckily, the people who listen to this show are intelligent. We are very fortunate. So I don't have to worry about the other side of this. But we have real smart listeners. And I know a lot of you are wondering, how do we actually get together to formulate something? One, we have a vessel, which is this podcast. This is your podcast. This is a podcast for you, the animal lovers, to work with. I'm here to work with everybody to try to make this happen, to stop POSs like this from actually getting a dog and taping its mouth shut, or who knows what worse. I'm here to, hopefully inspire you guys to get together. I'll definitely always be part of anything to help out, to actually make some kind of law work. These are the things that we need to do. And I think that we work together, we can get it done. And I don't care what your political view is. Doesn't matter. The view is you want to make a difference. You want to actually make a law. To make a law, people have to get together, work with their local officials to make them. It's all up to us. Well, that's going to conclude our GND news. And I want to actually put this out there as well. Very big, proud moment that I actually have. I'm sad that Sarah can't be here to actually hear me say this. She might listen to the podcast. Probably won't. We don't really listen to these things. We make them, but we're not going to listen to them. It's hard enough to actually, see ourselves in paper or online, on different social pages with praise. We're not the type that actually, get something to that. We appreciate it like you wouldn't believe, but, we're not driven by it. But I want to actually give Sarah a big congratulations, and please, everybody, if you would, please put up a message, whether it's on YouTube or on iTunes. Big congratulations to Sarah. She has been, this is the 8th when this comes out. That will be 9 days smoke-free. Big, huge kudos to Sarah for quitting smoking. It's not an easy thing to do. She is a miraculous woman, wonderful mom, wonderful wife, great co-host, just an absolute wonderful person. And the fact that she was able to just one day say, I'm done with this. I don't want my daughter to see me smoke. Even though she always went outside and was away from Claire, she always made a point that, Claire wasn't around it, but didn't want her to get to that stage where she would say, oh, well, my mommy smokes, So I got to give her a huge amount of praise. We're 9 days and counting, and she's doing it without a patch, without any kind of Nicorette gum or any other kind of assistance, not even a vapor pen. She's just going cold turkey. That's the word I was looking for. Old school was the mindset I was at. She's going old school, cold turkey. So, please, guys, drop her a message on YouTube or on iTunes. Just give her that praise. I wish her to get well as soon as possible. I know that she's been fighting this cold, and it has definitely rocked both of us. We are set for another 6 days this week. Oh boy, how we're going to do it, I don't know. So we'll see how that works out. Did release last week a new video podcast. Episode 9 is on YouTube. So I hope you guys have caught that. That was a sweet story. Kind of tie that one up. I mentioned it in the notes from that video podcast. That pup was adopted. It was actually adopted the next day. So real proud to actually say we had an opportunity to hopefully make a difference. Hopefully, the work that we did swayed somebody to realize the potential in that dog. If you guys are looking to adopt any kind of dog, definitely go to your local shelter. You know what? Sometimes the scruffy ones, it's just an exterior. It's a shell that just needs to be trimmed away. And who knows what's underneath that. You might actually find a gem. And I do believe that dog, Dash, was a diamond in the rough. So whoever adopted him, you definitely adopted just an absolute gem. So congratulations to them for adopting. I don't know who it is who adopted the dog. That's personal information I'm not going to inquire on, but definitely congratulations to them on their new addition. And I think that concludes episode 80. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I do apologize that Sarah was unable to attend, but she definitely needs the rest. So, I'm Chris Green, and this has been the Groomer Next Door. Have a pet-tastic week.
Okay, gotta go in my bedtime.
Was without doubt the worst episode ever. Rest assured that I was on the internet within minutes, registering my disgust throughout the world.